Everyone talks about surrendering on your spiritual path. What if your breakthrough is coming from structure rather than surrender? What if your soul is craving consistency over chaos? So what am I meaning by that when we say that? When I say that we should have some consistency, some self-discipline on our spiritual path as we are trying to raise our vibration, raise our frequency. I think we come from two schools of thought. And for a long time, I came from the school of thought that everything was kind of free flowing and we just went based off of our intuition, and if that went that way, and just kind of went with the flow. And although that's really great on your path because it teaches you to trust yourself, trust the universe, know everything's going to work out for you, having you step fully into a powerful co-creator, we have to look at the other side of the pendulum here, right? And kind of meet in the middle. And that comes from the other side of the pendulum of being having self-discipline and being consistent. And what does that kind of look like, right? Self-discipline, I want to go off by saying this. Having self-discipline is not about having control. It is not about being so rigid in your thinking that you feel like you need to have a strong hold onto everything, okay? I want you to know that I came from both ends of this giant pendulum. I've been up here where I've been completely controlling, where I felt like I needed to have my strong hold on everything, and if I didn't, my world would fall apart, and I lived my life filled with anxiety and filled with fear. But I've also lived parts of my life where I was free flowing. I didn't care. I did whatever I want. I didn't have structure. I didn't have discipline. I was not consistent. People could not rely on me. I lived a very carefree life, and sometimes it wasn't always the best. And so I began to find myself on my path to not be at either one of these extremes, but kind of to mold them and to mesh them together to really be in the middle. When we have self discipline, it is truly sacred because it is showing ourselves that we can show up for ourselves no matter what. We can do the things that we have said that we are going to do for ourselves, and that builds even more trust within us. It brings us to the goals that we have in mind. It brings us closer to the manifestations that we have. And freedom is found through commitment, to quote that, right? I am beginning to see how having self-discipline and being consistent has opened so many doors for me. It's unreal. And we have to keep this in mind too when we look at manifestation, for example. If you are trying to bring something in previous videos, I've gone over the fact that we want to kind of follow a Neville Goddard technique where we fully feel we already have that which we seek, right? We embody it. We feel the emotions. We already live the life that which we want to manifest, right? And that being said, that takes self-discipline to wake up every single day and say, I'm going to embody the version of myself that has already manifested this within my life. I'm going to bring in these versions of myself that have the money, the relationship, the house, the job, what have you. And you have to think about that, right? And being on our path, no one should tell you how you should or shouldn't live your life, but when you have when you're consistent and you have the self-discipline, you become basically anointed in the golden light of the universe, in the golden light of God. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you are basically untouchable because you are so much in the energy that the outside reality is going to reflect back to you, right? It's going to say to you, I see the work you're doing within. I'm going to bless you with your manifestations. I'm going to bring in the right people. Your whole reality starts to change. And we have to let go of the fear of structure, because sometimes when we have that fear of structure, we have the fear of growth. And I don't know about you, but I had that for many years. I didn't believe in structure. I believed in eating whatever I wanted, doing whatever I wanted to do, and living the life that I wanted to live. To a certain extent, of course, you can do whatever you want. But I didn't have that structure. I'll give you another example. My son has ADHD, okay? And I should say ADHD, right? So autism and ADHD combined. That being said, this little guy thrives on consistency, thrives on structure. If he does not have that, chaos begins to ensue in his life, right? It brings chaos into our lives as well. And because he needs that structure. And if you look at somebody like that and you see them on a very structured schedule, they all of a sudden blossom. They all of a sudden are living this beautiful life that you can't even imagine, because they have that self-discipline to wake up every day, to meditate even when it's hard, to make YouTube videos even when they don't want to keep climbing and crawling for their dreams, for their manifestations, even on the days that they don't want to, even when the ego says, this is enough, this is stupid, I don't want to do this anymore, right? And like even on my own journey where I'm eating fruits and vegetables, right? I'm a raw vegan. So for me, I've been started this journey and I'm consuming these high vibrational fruits and vegetables, just beautiful, right? And I notice when I fall off a structure and don't have self-discipline and I go and eat junk, I feel like junk. Okay, right? I don't know about you, like you can use this in any example of your life, doesn't necessarily have to be food, but don't you notice that when you kind of go off path, that it doesn't feel good? It doesn't feel right? And then you go into story, you go into thinking, you go into mind, and you say, you know what? I'm a piece of crap. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have ate that. I should have stayed on schedule. I'm such a failure. I shouldn't have done that. No. The point of self-discipline and consistency is that we're not always perfect. And I need you to know that. And I feel like somebody needed to hear that right now. And what it is that we have that little slip up, but we can come right back. And that's the difference. We need to bounce right back in. And that is what having self-discipline is that even when we have the slip up, even when we accidentally go into story, into mind, we are able to come right back and bounce back into who we are. And that comes also with having the structure in our lives. And we say, you know what? Today I just didn't have it, but tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to try again. And we come back and we keep trying and we keep doing it and we keep rising and we keep raising our frequency and vibration. And we keep coming back to the heart space and meditating. And all these doors will begin to open for you. I promise you, my friends, because that's what happened to me. I was able to have this life that I couldn't even imagine kind of come in for me. But that took some time. That took some time believing in myself, trusting myself, living this life right here in the middle, not at either extreme. And coming and combining those two to make the life that was truly meant for me. And you can now make the life that you want to make. And if this resonated with you, I want to know down in the comments, do you have self-discipline? Are you consistent? Or are you planning to now implement this in your life? And in what ways are you implementing all of these techniques in? I would love to know down below. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you for being here. I'll see you soon. Bye.